Hello.
Good morning. Welcome
What?
to QuestionPro Office Hours. I'm so glad you're here, Shabani.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, if everyone is joining us now, thank you so much for being here for July office hours. I know it's summer, especially in the US. So if you're online watching us, shout out to you for being committed to your job today. um, and we are just so excited that you're here. Whether you're watching us from the States, whether you're watching us from your bed, or whether you're watching us because Shabani's here. We can't wait to answer all of your questions and, really dive into some of the different things we've been chatting about. As everyone knows, we do office hours every fourth Monday of the month. So please let us know if you have questions. We're always happy to answer them, and we follow up post office hours too if we don't get to them. So always feel free to answer your question, or not answer, to submit your questions, and we'll answer them. For those who don't know, I am Crystal Weiss. I'm the director of marketing here at QuestionPro. And today I have Shabani Maria Phillip, who is
Hello.
our new director of APAC. And we are just so excited that she's here to talk to us about CX, but not just our CX platform. We're going to talk about it, as always, how you can use our free tools and when you need to upgrade to a more robust CX platform. Shabani, where are you joining us
Absolutely.
today from?
I am based in Bangalore, so that's in South India. It's
Cool.
actually not as hot as where you are. We've been getting rains every evening. It's actually one of the best cities in India to live in because the weather is pretty much great all around the year. We get maybe
Ooh.
a month or 2 months of summers and heat, but otherwise it's our San Francisco of India.
I love that. I was like, even last week it got 107 in Austin, where I'm based. And I literally was looking at flights to Oregon, where my brother lives, and it was like 65 there. Like he was like, I'm
Yeah.
wearing a sweater. And I was like, cool, cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
yeah,
over here
yeah.
dying.
Yeah, because of I mean the distances in US it is difficult to travel, but here, I mean, just a 5-6 hour drive and you can reach a hill station, and so if it gets too hot, there are always quick getaways that you
Oh,
can do in and
I
around.
am
So
so jealous to get out of the heat. It takes 8 hours just to get out of Texas.
yeah, right.
And well, I'm so glad you're here. And for those joining us, let us know where you're joining us in the comments section. Like I said, I'm based out of Austin, Texas for right now. And Shabani is in what she says is the best city in India.
Yeah.
So we are so grateful that she's joining us today. And if you have questions, let us know in the comments as well. And if you didn't know, Question Pro has four main products that you can get while using us. We have obviously our survey software that's super free, the best free survey software on the market right now, with more advanced licenses like advanced. I need to come up with a different word for that. More advanced licenses like advanced and team edition. And then we have our super robust research suite where you can build communities, do price modeling, and do instant answers, have research services, Insights Hub. Man, they're just like, they have too many things going on. And then we
Yep.
obviously have CX, which is what Shabani is, I would say, preface towards.
Yep. I can talk for ages on CX.
And then Workforce, which anyone who joined us last month, we actually had Ford on who chatted with us all about Workforce and how you can really engage with your employees and create a employee kind of experience that really can make the difference in your retention, how they feel about you, and where they feel, their careers can go. It honestly was one of those office hours where he was just like so inspiring that I was like, just tell me more.
Right. I've had him on a few customer calls, and they've all exactly been like that. Oh, tell us more.
You're like, oh, I feel so inspired. Like, Ford, can you help
Yeah.
me with my personal life? Like, I was like, do I need to run like a survey on my life? So these are our four Question Pro products, and they really are, create a robust platform. So whether you're starting with free survey software and we can grow with you, we can grow with your company as well. And I think that's a lot of times what people don't realize is we can not only help you do like your research with Research Suite, we can help you with your customers, and we can help you with your employees. And that is going to be a major theme you start seeing here at QuestionPro is how do we start building out the ecosystems that help companies thrive? Hint, hint, it's going to be part of our X Day fall theme. I was like, it's July. X Day's in October. We're going to start talking about it already.
Never too soon.
Never too soon. So Shibani, I'm gonna let's just chat a little bit about what you do here at QuestionPro, and then we'll start jumping into CX. So tell me, how did you end up here?
Yeah, so I've been in CX for quite a few years now. Worked with other platforms as well, worked predominantly with clients in and around the APAC region, to really help them set up their CX programs more like from a consultative approach, right? How do you set up your CX programs? How do you improve and grow your CX programs? How do you get better ROIs from the programs? So I've got a market research background and I specialized in CX. So going close to 8-9 years now in the CX industry, specifically in APAC. Yeah.
That's awesome. I only know like one. Well, I have two fun facts about APAC. One is Australia has the most similar mortgage market to the US.
Okay, did not know that.
And that's only because I worked in mortgages for mortgage fintech.
I don't know if it's a fun fact, but it's a fact.
It's more just like a fact. And the Women's World Cup is going to be in New Zealand and Australia next year. And I'm super excited about that because I love soccer.
Lovely. Yeah, you have to tell me that it is soccer. It can be World Cup for anything, cricket.
But I know I forgot. I forget sometimes when we're talking with international contingents. I'm always like global football, American football, soccer. It's like someone once told me, they're like, if you call it soccer, I'm not going to respond to you. And I was like, okay.
No, it's soccer. That's all right.
So if someone was looking to start even like a basic CX program, and when we say CX, we mean customer experience. Now, that can obviously, when we think about that, we think about a really, really robust platform, that maybe is a 10, 20-year long cycle. But if you're, let's say, a small business and you just want to start really, I guess, collecting some data points from your customers using one of our more basic survey softwares like Essentials, which is free, or Advanced, what are some of your like best practices, or even like, hey, if you don't know what you're looking for, just start here?
Yep. Absolutely. So it's like you said, you can either go full blown and then have like this massive platform where you need to, have a lot of investment in it. You need to get senior leadership buy-in. You need to get budget and all of that in place. Or you can just start small, right? Start with a single survey that you can send out. I know, Crystal, you touched upon the different licenses and the different platforms that we have in QuestionPro. I might go into that a little bit more detail so that they understand for the use cases behind why you'd sign up for the simple software or even the research suite, and then why would you sign up for a full-fledged CX program?
Right. I really think sometimes people, they get so overwhelmed that doing nothing is better than being overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've heard that quite a bit, right? Because there's a directive from above, from the senior management saying, hey, we need to put this in place. We need to get NPS trends over time. We need to get, what is the KPI? Everybody needs to have an NPS KPI, and everyone's like, oh my God, I don't know where to start. But it just starts with a simple survey, right? You don't need to send it out at, what we say in customer experience, where you need to build out that entire journey, identify those key touch points. You don't need to start there. Just start at post-payment or post-delivery or something which is a significant step from the customer's perspective as well. Collect the feedback from them. It need not be in real time, right? So right after the delivery, you don't need to send out the survey, because that again is a little difficult to implement. you can just collect them and collect those email addresses and send them an email at the end of the day, to get those responses. And those responses, even with your free license, is available on the platform, right? You can slice and dice the data. You can even download those reports and share those reports with the senior management. Do you want your NPS? Here's your NPS. Right?
Here is some data.
So here is some data. Exactly. Now, if you wanted more data, I would need your help. So, but you can always start with the free license. There's so much that can be done with the free license itself, right? You can not many people know, but you can run unlimited surveys. You have a cap on the responses per survey, but you can run unlimited surveys.
Right. But if you're a
right?
small business and you're like, oh, hey, I get, I don't know, 100 orders a month, or, you know, like if you're just like a small, let's say at a farmer's market or something like that, like your capacity isn't about responses. It's about really how often you're doing it. Because I know a lot of, I was just at the farmer's market this weekend, and on their little like tablet, it was like an automated, like, how did you enjoy this experience? And I was like, well, it's just like one dude. Like, it's like, I mean, the experience was fine, but at least then it's like he doesn't have a ton of business necessarily, but it's like he's at a farmer's market every weekend. You know, and so it's really the more volume versus responses.
No, absolutely. And I agree. And especially for, small businesses, for example, my sister has a cookie dough company here in India. And for her, when they're running, when she's running surveys, it's a mix of market research to understand, pricing, to understand, what flavors people are looking for, what is being liked, what is not selling as much, but also CX, right? Post purchase, did they like the packaging? Did they like the experience? Did they like, so much from a customer? So it's kind of rolled into one, which you can do with your free license as well, which he does with the free license as well. So.
I think one thing, if people don't know this about people who work at QuestionPro, is we love data, and two, we like get our family and other people to use it. I use like survey. I used like on essentials, I guess, maybe employee edition, whatever. But I used like the card sorting for the family to prioritize which activity we wanted to do on family vacation. And I used card sorting because I pulled everyone, even like the littles, like my 10-year-old nephews and nieces. And I was like, and then my family was like, this is so nerdy. And I was like, yeah, but did you not like the activities and how they were like prioritized?
Right, we've got data to back it.
And so if you're a QuestionPro customer, we hope you love the platform, because us who work here love it so much we literally like sneak it into our normal lives.
Life polls are used everywhere now.
I know. Okay, so Shivani, why don't you give us then, I know you have a deck and we can walk through, and then we're going to do a demo here in a little bit. So for all of those joining us, thank you so much for coming to QuestionPro Office Hours. This is Shivani Phillip, who is joining us from our APAC region, really here to talk about CX. And we're talking about kind of the journey from when you need to use a free CX, I'm going to put that in quotes, a free license to collect customer data versus when you really need to create a CX program. And a little self-touting here, I see.
Right? We have to have it. We have to have it shown. It is a big thing. Best in CX had to have it up there. So,
as a huge soccer fan, which I just talked about, this is like super close to my heart. For anyone in the States who is maybe a soccer fan, there is a third tier soccer league in the US, in which QuestionPro is a sponsor of, which is so fun. And we run their Man of the Match program. You want to tell us how it works? I don't know if I know all the details.
and no, I think let's leave that for the end. I'm not the nitty-gritties. I know we do run it, but the nitty-gritties,
it's so fun
of it and how we run it.
And one of the big differentiators of it, as far as the in the States is concerned. So like, let's say you're watching a football game or a college game and they're like the man of the match or like the MVP is actually picked by the commentators.
Yep.
Whereas what we run with this league is picked by the viewers and the fans in the stadium. So not only those who are watching it online or on television, but also those in stadium. So you don't have to be at the game to participate in the polling. And it's all fan driven. Whereas typically it's commentator driven in most major league.
Absolutely. And that's, yeah.
Fun fact.
And hence the gold award winner.
So if you like soccer, come watch some NISA games.
Crystal will be there.
That's probably not wrong.
Okay. So, I'm sure you've seen the slide quite a few times on office hours itself. But like Crystal mentioned, we have three main verticals that we cater to. So one is your research platform, right, where you can run anything in the realm of market research, whether it is your standard brand surveys, your UNA studies, concept testing, ad testing, to more complex research like your pricing analysis, conjoint analysis, A/B testing, all of that. Right. So all of that can be done with our survey platform with your research edition. Now, the research suite itself, there are so many more things that can be done as add-ons. So starting with our audience. So audience is where we have our own panel. We also work with third-party panels. So you can reach out to people within your target group, whether they want to run competition analysis or just simple benchmarking surveys. We have our managed services as well, right? So here we have our own market research experts who are in-house, where you can, for the projects that you're looking to run, either you don't have the time to run it internally, right? Or it's a very specific use case and you don't have an internal rep who with the knowledge to run it, you can hand it over to us and we can run it for you from end to end, right? Just like a typical market research agency. You can come to us with the objective. We will design the survey, collect the responses, run the analysis, and come to you with those insights.
Patrick
so
Jones,
bear with me. I'm gonna, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Patrick Jones was on Office Hours in March. So if you wanted to learn more about managed services, go back and watch an Office Hours. All of these products that she's going to talk about, there's literally an Office Hours.
Office Hours attached to it. Yeah. For communities, right? So a community is what we build is for your own customers or your target group. You can run research with them on an ongoing basis, right? This can be quant research via surveys or discussion threads, idea bolts, polls, a lot of modules through which you can interact with these community members. It can also be through qualitative research, right? You can set up focus groups, you can set up in-depth discussions, so many ways in which you can interact with your community members and your community members can interact with you as well, right? And within your research suite, there are, we have our newest product, which is the Insights Hub. I'm sure we have an office hours on it, or we're going to have an office hours on it, but the platform, it works as a project management tool, and it's also a central repository for all of the research work that is done within the organization, right? So the repository is not just to, save all of the collateral from the project, but it gives you that ability to, add insights from the project and also leverage them down the line.
I always explain it to people like a Google Drive. Like, remember when you saved all of your research in a Google Drive, but then Google Drive doesn't search it the way your mind searches it? Insights Hub searches it. You can set it up to search the way your mind searches. Right. And find those nuggets and never this happens in marketing all the time. When people leave and new people come on, you end up repeating a lot of the same marketing or I would say like mistakes or studies or trends. And then it's like, oh, I just spent 6 months doing this campaign and then I found data when they did it already. And so Insights Hub really saves you from, it helps you work better, not harder. Work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. So I know it seems like I've spoken a lot about research.
I try to keep that team so humble because they get so much airtime every time. I'm just like, I love all products equally.
No, but coming to today's session, right? The reason I thought it was important to give you that context, because to just give examples of what kind of research that you would run if you were going for the full-fledged research platform, right?
Right.
You can also start, like Crystal said, we have multiple tiers of licenses within your research. You can go for the full feature license, which is your research edition, or you can start off with our free license, which is essential, where you can run, pretty much any survey under the sun, whether it is customer experience, whether it is market research related. If you want to just start small, build or get organizational buy-in, and then go from there, that's your best bet, right? But our CX platform specifically, right? So that was designed so that the organization itself becomes customer centric, right? So really, what does that include? So the first one is being able to track the customer's experience across those key interactions across their journey with the company. Being able to bring in all of that collected feedback right after they have completed the transaction. So CX has the capability of collecting that feedback in real time. Ability to track and act upon all of this negative data, right? So if a customer is taking the effort to share with you that they have had a negative experience, you can automatically raise a ticket and then assign it to some specific person within the company, and it is their responsibility. The ownership is on them to close loop with the customer,
right?
And once all of this data is collected, collecting the data is not the end, right? So what we allow is to disseminate this data across the organization so that teams can really act upon it, and the performance can be tracked as well. So we have, a cool feature that's proprietary to QuestionPro, which is your NPS Plus, where you're able to understand your customer churn, identify the root causes for churn, and then you have like an idea board of sorts where you can collect suggestions from your customers. And these suggestions, when you look at it at an overall level on your dashboard, they're actually validated by your customers because the customers get to vote on these suggestions. Right?
Ooh,
So
I do
it's
love
a pretty
voting.
cool feature. Right? So you get 5 points and you can distribute it however it is that you see fit, and the suggestions that you like. So
so fun.
So along with that, we have included 2 other modules that can be signed up for as an add-on to CX, right? So one is your outer loop and then your reputation. What outer loop does, it takes action planning really to a whole another level, right? So your NPS Plus, what it gives you are those root causes for churn. But outer loop allows you to actually solve the problem for these customers, right? So you can prioritize all of these root causes, create initiatives on the platform. You can bring in cross-functional teams to work on these initiatives, track the progress of these initiatives, and then, of course, once they've been worked on, actually track and see what is the impact it has on your key metrics, right?
What do you mean I just collect data and I never follow up on it? That seems a lot like what I'm doing now. No, I'm kidding.
Or, and we also have companies where, they put in the initiatives, they have the initiatives, but then nobody really tracks the initiative. It just dies in a month or
Is that not the story of corporate, of the world of corporate?
Absolutely. So what this does is that you can, one is, of course, you can see who's been working on it, how often they've been working on it, making sure people are on track. Also, once they've been, they've worked on it, you can also track the impact that it had. So it can be, how much of an impact did it have on any of your CX metrics, your NPS or your CSAT, or any of your business metrics, right? It can be linked to revenue, can be linked to sales, ARPU, churn, right? Whatever it is that you want to pull in, you can pull in and track the impact that all of these initiatives have had on any of these metrics.
I love that.
So that's a really cool platform that we have. And then your last one is reputation, right? So reputation, with our existing survey platform itself, you're able to collect the feedback from the customer after they have answered the survey, work upon it if they say that they have a negative feedback. But a whole aspect of social media, giving those online reviews is something that we haven't, that not many customers track as well. But it is another space, another channel for your customers to share feedback on their experience.
Yeah.
So what reputation allows you to do is that you can pull in these ratings and these reviews from multiple of these online sites, right? Whether it is Google My Business, Instagram, Trustpilot, Twitter, anything where you want to pull in all your responses from and all your reviews from, we can pull that in. You can track these ratings. You can also reply to comments from the platform itself. All of
That's
this
fun.
all of this open-ended data, because there's a whole bunch of unstructured data that you're getting.
Yeah.
You can use our text analysis tool, right? It will identify those trends in the comments, areas that are coming up more often that you can action upon. So much can be done with the reputation module.
You made a great point about unstructured data. And I really think when people are thinking about CX, they get their minds go into such a formula for it. And unstructured data is like the wild, wild west. But I feel like it like holds all your best nuggets, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
or don't go far too down the rabbit hole if you like work for an airline company, because it could be really sad. Like your mental health might be
right.
But that's maybe just in the States right now with our with all that stuff.
It's Europe, UK as well. It's quite tough.
Just chaos. But that reputation really sounds like a game changer if you're like putting in your infrastructure and you're like, we've got a CX program that's really not automated, but like dialed in. And then like, how do you take that CX program to the next level? Like outer loop and reputation, I feel like are your like stars of the show if you're kind of like got your life together.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
And
I love that.
So it's not just a research suite anymore. We have a whole CX suite as well that people can, that our customers can sign up for. And very quickly, our third vertical, employee experience, is similar to customer experience. We're collecting feedback from the customer across their journey. Here, you can collect feedback from your employee across their journey with the organization, making sure it's a healthy place, it's a happy place for your employees to work, which with everyone knows, right? A happy employee leads to happy customers as well. So it is building out that employee culture. You can have everybody in the organization who should be seeing the data, be able to see the data, the trends that are coming in real time, have the entire program automated, whether it is, from your onboarding survey after let's say 3 months within the organization, culture surveys, pulse surveys, like a whole bunch of things that can be done. And then, of course, your 360-degree feedback, which is a whole separate module that can be run within Workforce as well.
Yeah.
And just adding on to that, we have positive people science, more from a consultative aspect, right? So we've got, of course, you've got your experts, and I'm sure Ford spoke about it, but
yeah, if you need like 3 PhD, I kid you not, like 3 PhDs to help you with your employees, positive people science is the way to go. I think all of our PhDs work in one product line.
yeah. We need to hire some PhDs as well.
I was like, Shivani, just go get yours. It's fine. I hear it's easy.
No, we'll just hire. But no, but it is so useful for especially both large organizations and small organizations, right? So they're collecting feedback. What do you do? What do you do next? How do you improve your employee experience? What they do is come in, they analyze where you are, they give their recommendations, and everything is catered to your organization. What will work best for your organization, and what are the next steps that your organization should be taking? So you can definitely sign up for that as well. But with that, I hope that give you a little bit of background in terms of what CX offers, why it's different from your other verticals as well.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if we've ever had anyone advocate for the other verticals as much as Shivani just did. I can see Dan watching the live with Dan on Fridays with Dan Fleetwood. He's the best, but he is very much, he's the president of Research Suite, and he's always like, if you need something, we are here. Just us, just me.
But well, Dan does have all of the answers. So
he does. But it's always, all product lines are created equal. But
Awesome.
so let's dive into a little bit more about CX then.
Yes, yes. So I'll just skip to this. We'll go into this just a little bit, and then we can go into the highlights of the demo and show you the platform as well. But um, in terms of creating your surveys, right? Our CX platform, you can run, add as many questions as you want. We have the entire all the entire 50 plus questions that you can include as part of your survey. It's completely customizable, right? So you can have the UI of the survey look exactly to match your brand. The
Yep.
logo, the image, the colors, the entire UI can be changed to meet that requirement. And then, of course, if you're a global company, we have multilingual surveys that can be run as well. And may not be global. We have Indian companies as well, where you just need the multi-language option. But if you wanted to send out those regional surveys, we have that included. And
Mhm.
also, just one thing to point out here, again, very different from a lot of the other platforms out there. Everything that I show you here is part of your license, right? It's not
Ah,
anything where you have to go click in, add on, pay everything is ready as part of the UI, as part of your license that you sign up for.
I
All
gotcha.
right.
I gotcha. And so
Mhm.
when you're what do you find to be kind of I don't know, what's the one thing that surprises you that people are looking for when they're like
Mhm.
coming in and they're like, cool, I need to add my logo. That's a game changer. Or,
Yep.
the role-based dashboards. Like, what do you find to be the one thing that sticks out? And maybe something that you weren't like, you're like, in my head, it would be this, but in reality, it's this.
Yep. 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 So for me, it is it's like you said, right? So we have all of our dashboards which can be shared with everyone. I go, show them all of the detailed dashboards and different widgets that you can add to it. But always a highlight is the push metrics feature that we have, right?
Mm,
It's such a simple thing where anyway your dashboard is built out with all of your widgets, and you can see the data. What push metrics allows you to do is that you can select the people within the organization that should be receiving this data, and then you can send it to them via email, where all of these images, widgets are there as part of the email body itself. And then it can go to them on a weekly basis. So you can say Monday 9 a.m. This is the email subject, this is the email, and all of that data can be sent to them.
ooh,
It's always, oh, can we do that? Does that eliminates all of this weekly reporting, the manual
yeah.
work that goes into it. So that's something that most of the clients and leads that we speak to love.
That's awesome. And one of those things that we actually talk about here on office hours a lot, that it's not like it's one of those little nuggets inside the Question Pro platform that you may not realize is there and you can
Yep.
use. And those push metrics are available on Research Suite, Workforce, and CX, and even some like I think Advanced and Team Edition. And so really take advantage of
Yep.
that like automated system because honestly, it'll save you so much time. People in the world who
Yep.
are watching this. I was like, I
Yep.
get a report from HubSpot every Monday at 9 a.m. with like how many socials we pushed out, how many emails we pushed out. And so every Monday morning, I know that there's something in my inbox that can tell me, like, hey, this, and this. And then I can flag it if something's wrong.
Yep. 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 Absolutely.
Um,
And if it's not being automated, there is somebody at the back end who's collecting all this data, putting in and analyzing data. Somebody's going to miss a 9 somewhere, or put in
right.
a 4 somewhere. It eliminates mistakes as well, right? Which is just human error. It happens,
Mhm.
But when you're sending it week on week, some week there's going to be some error that creeps in. So
That's awesome.
automation all the way.
Push metrics and automation
Push metrics.
available within many systems of the Question Pro platform.
Absolutely. Yeah. So sign up. But
uh,
Done. So
keep going.
your second one is your distribute, right? So how do you actually send out these surveys? Now, again, this is important for CX, because if you want to collect the data from the customer right after they have completed the transaction, right? When the transaction, the details, their experience is fresh in their minds, you need to be collecting feedback through the best channel that is possible. Now, for some touch points, it could be email. For some touch points, where they come to the website and they look for something, your website surveys are the best way to go, because right then and there you have a pop-up survey, or you can have, a feedback tab that is included. So we have, really an omni-channel way of collecting that feedback, a whole bunch of channels through which you can send out the surveys to the customer. And then it like I said, it is an event-based survey, right? So the internal company system, they know when they've made a purchase, right? So they can send us that trigger in real time, and then we can trigger the survey to deploy the survey to the customer in real time as well. And so then you can, again, it can be done through SMS providers that QuestionPro can take off. We have an email channel, we can send out the surveys. We have, you can send it out through FTP folders as a batch process if you want it at the end of the day or at the end of the week for your non-real-time survey. So multiple ways and multiple options that you have in terms of how do you distribute the surveys.
Right.
In terms of collecting and analyzing the data, right? So we have the dashboards, we have your widgets that can be added to the dashboards. You can have multiple dashboards. There's no limitation there. You want to, and it's role-based, right? So you can have one manager looking at dashboards that have data that is specific to, the branches that they handle or the region that they handle, and another manager that's looking at the same dashboard, but they have the data completely filtered for their region, right? So it can be, you can set up those restrictions that way. We use IBM Watson for your text analysis, for your sentiment analysis. So it's not just your close-ended, data that gets analyzed. It's your open-ended data as well.
That unstructured data is really something that if you can harness it, it could really be a game changer. We see that a lot in open-ended questions. And I always get the these are hard, Crystal. These might not be best practices. And I'm always like, but it gives me such the fun information.
Yeah. It can be hard, right? I've had to go through open-ended responses, which can be time-consuming. It can be, but IBM it kind of buckets it already for you, so which buckets you want to focus on. In this bucket, it's predominantly a detractor. It's predominantly negative comments.
Interesting. So then it takes it can take other data points, and then kind of bucket that unstructured data.
So it takes into account. It takes into account the comment itself, right? And it will bucket it into what is the theme that they're talking about, and is it positive, predominantly positive, negative, neutral. And then when you click on that, you can see the comments that have contributed to that theme, along with the NPS score given for each of those comments, right? So it does correlate your the overall scores and the key metric as well. I will show you how that looks on the dashboard.
I was like, girl, you better get a move on.
Yeah, I know. But then you can import historical data. You can you have your NPS plus that we've spoken a lot about, where you can look at the overall churn risk, and then finally taking action upon it, right? Like I said, it's not just about collecting the data. It has to improve your customer experience at the end of the day. So you have your closed loop, you have your ticketing features that can be set up. You can set it up based on responses to the question. You can set it up based on any sort of customer profiling information that you pass on along with your trigger. You can multiple rules and combinations that you can use to set up the tickets. And then, of course, your whole outer loop that can be added on to it.
Right? So many loops.
Okay, so with
consumers just go in circles.
Sorry?
I said consumers just go in circles.
Yeah, absolutely. It never ends. You never end. You can't end, right? Customer experience never ends. So
right. And that is did you know why manhole covers are round?
So you can, I don't know.
It's the only shape that won't fall in on itself. Isn't that fun? So circles are great. They're the only shape that can't collapse in on itself.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun facts here at QuestionPro Office Hours. If you follow us on LinkedIn, which all of you should follow us on social media, whether it be LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube or Face, I think that's it. Instagram. Then you will see we have a did you know weekly LinkedIn posting where we poll the American population on did they know these fun facts? Most of the time they don't. Like berries or bananas are technically classified as berries.
Good to know.
Is it? Okay, so here we are inside a QuestionPro CX.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll spend, about 10 minutes just giving you an overall, highlighting how you can do the different things with the platform, right? So when you log into the platform, this will pretty much be your landing page for CX. You can see a whole bunch of other platforms that we have, but you'll land on the CX platform. So we have 5 key functional areas. So your survey, where you come and create the survey, deploy, where you can come and create those different templates. You can also set up those separate URLs if you want to use it in different ways to send out your surveys to your customers. Analytics, this is where you come and build in your dashboard. Action, this is our closed loop module, the ticketing module. And then you have, of course, your admin for all of your administrative features. So I'll quickly touch upon admin and then we can go to survey, creating survey, all of that fun bit.
Ooh, okay. Let's do the basics and then we'll do the fun stuff.
So, settings, if you wanted your entire portal, and this is really relevant for APAC as well. If you wanted your whole portal to be in a regional language, you can come in and set it up here. Promoters, detractors, responses, just on-off features at an overall level if you wanted what we call social media amplification. So let's say you have a customer who comes in, they say that they're a promoter of the brand. You want to encourage them to share their responses on your social media channels. You can come in, add that question type. You can add it here. You can add the question type to your survey as well. Detractor, again, on-off, whether you want the whole ticketing module, and then you can look at your responses. Mobile and devices, right? So this is our offline app feature where you can run surveys even if you don't have internet connection, right? So you can download the surveys onto the device, whether it is a kiosk, a tablet, or whichever device. We allow you to download those surveys, collect the feedback from a response. So they come in, put in their responses, it automatically refreshes for the next respondent. Whenever you do have internet connection, all of these responses can get uploaded onto the platform.
That's great when you're thinking like if you're at, especially fan experience, I think if you're at a concert or at a big venue, you like always know that you go in even as a consumer, you go in going like, I probably will not have great service when I'm in here. And so that's a great option for people who are really thinking like large venues and or venues with like a lot of concrete.
Yep, absolutely. And it's actually not just, like it can be even your sometimes your branches of your organization are at, spread across the city. Not all of them need to have, come with great internet service. So you can leverage these different options that we have to run those surveys. Integrations. So this is really how you'd send out your surveys, right? So if you wanted to send it out as a batch process, we have the FTP option. You can upload your files onto the FTP folder. We will pick it up from there and deploy the surveys to your customers. API integration, that's if you wanted to send out your surveys in real time. And then, of course, webhooks where you can collect those responses and push it into any of your internal platforms. I'm going to skip across to segments now. So segments is really from the organizational geographical perspective, right? How you'd want to see the data once the data comes in. How, you can break it down by multiple levels, multiple tiers. There's no real restriction there. So what I've done is just a whole bunch of states for India. Now, for example, you can break down Maharashtra into your different regions. You can, your different key cities. You can break down each key city into the different branches that you have. Now, the idea here is that you can look at the data coming in and you can deploy surveys specifically for this branch, which is your Ghatkopar branch. You can look at the data coming in from Mumbai, which will include all of the data within that, all of your branches put together. So very often organizations will have a leader here, right? A region lead. and they need to be seeing the data coming in for all of these branches. Then you will have a state lead, a zonal lead, right? So however you would, as an organization, will want to view the data, that's how you would have your segments built out, right? All of this is one time, once you've set it up, it's there, your data kind of flows in using these segments. You also have, a whole team that will help you map this out on the platform. So along with your segments from a geographical aspect, now it is mapping your managers to each of these different segments, right? So,
so if you were in like a branch of like, let's say like a grocery store in Austin, but let's say you're a big grocery store all across Texas, you want to be able to branch all the responses from my grocery store to, the Houston grocery stores.
Absolutely.
Okay,
so
great.
You can look at
so much, Shivani. That's why I love office hours.
At a state, at a Texas level, you can look at it as, those individual branch level as well. So for example, Bruce Springsteen, right? He's the head of a particular
obviously
branch.
The best.
Right? So when he logs into his portal, he'll be able to see, this is where you put in that data the access restriction, right? So what is the data that they should be seeing? So Bruce Springsteen, when he logs in, he'll be able to see the data that's coming in for the Gartcopper branch, right? If there are tickets that are coming out of the Gartcopper branch, it'll be assigned to him because then he can action upon it. It's people who have gone to his branch. And then you can, of course, have, Lionel Richie who will be able to see the whole of Mumbai, right? So it just depends on, you can come in here, again, you have unlimited dashboard users. That's a huge winner, a huge advantage with QuestionPro CX, where there is no limitation as to how many people can have access to the data. You can literally have your entire organization be able to come in, log in, and look at the data that's up.
But then you can give each person their own roles and rights and access to that. So you could have, like, let's say you have a district manager, a store manager, assistant managers. And right, they each are going to need different access, but we don't upcharge you for putting them in our platform.
Yeah.
I was like, you might not say it, but I can say it.
No, so that is true. And we encourage the entire organization to have people who are that they should be looking at the data. If you don't do that, you're not going to be customer centric. Nobody's going to be paying attention to the data unless you allow them to be able to see it. So the third thing from an organization perspective, so geography, your managers, your employees, and then you can also tag in your products, right? So you can have your product groups so that when you're sending out survey, you can link it to a particular product. All of this data gets tagged at the back end. It's like metadata. The customers don't see it, but then once their survey responses come into the platform, all of this information will be tagged at the back end. So if you wanted to filter out the scores just for a particular product group or for a particular product, you can do that as well.
Interesting. So let's say I buy a certain type of foundation from a makeup brand, and then they could say hey, Crystal buys X foundation specifically. And I'm saying this because I think I got targeted from my survey at my favorite makeup brand that I buy direct from. And I was like, okay, why am I getting this questionnaire only about foundation? And I was like, oh, it's because that's what I bought in my last. And so they could say hey, she wears X, and then put me into a sample or a segment that I could to follow up on that. Good to know.
Exactly. Right. And also simple, if you just got a post, if you went online and you bought the particular product and post purchase, you're just talking about your whole purchase experience. You can look at the purchase experience for people who have bought foundation versus people who had bought any other kind of makeup, right? If you wanted to just look at it side by side, that's possible as well. Or you want to cater your questions in your case to the product that they had purchased.
Yeah, it was very strange. I was like, I feel very targeted. But I try to do my best to answer surveys that come my way now because I feel responsible to.
Yeah. I can't see a survey and not answer it now. So and critique it.
Sometimes I screenshot it and I'm like, merp.
Okay, so I know I've been talking for a while. So let me see if I can run through this a little quicker. So
Yeah.
these three are from an organizational perspective. Mapping that you see here, this is from a customer perspective, right? So this is again something that's very critical when you want to analyze your data after it comes in, right? So we have 100 of these custom variables. And you can share all of this information when you're sending us that trigger to send out the service. So, like your products and things like that, that is tagged at the back end, all of this customer information can be tagged at the back end so that once the data comes in, you can either, right, so send out questions as part of your survey to a particular customer cohort. You can look at your scores by, filtering out different customer profiles and customer cohorts. So, a lot can be done. It really enriches your data and gives you better insights because you're able to slice and dice your data.
That's awesome.
So the next one here is your push metrics, right? That we spoke about. It's very simple. You can just select the dashboards that you want to send out, right? So you have all of your dashboards that you can choose from. You want to say, NPS plus. I want to send it to all of these managers. I want to send it 9 a.m. Right, every morning I can send it. You want to write QuestionPro NPS plus results, so you want to change that around, change the message. All of those widgets that you have in the dashboard will be sent to these managers via email.
We love a little automation, man. And this even answers, we've been answering. The reason I haven't asked you a specific question is because you've literally been answering all the questions as we've been going. There was like, do you have in-house experts to help us with questionnaires? Yes, we have a research services team. Can I be notified? And this is one that you might not have answered, but I am going to ask this. Can I automate a notification when a customer submits a help request or a negative response? And I don't know if you went over that and I just spaced it.
Yep. No, absolutely. I'll come into that. So that's actually your basis of how your tickets can be generated, right?
Okay.
So you can definitely, as part of your survey as well, I'll show you how to set up those notifications. But you can have notifications that just get sent out via email. You can also have complex notifications that are put in place. We
can just do the first one.
Yeah. Right, we can, but you can also set up tickets, right? Because that can actually be tracked. You can track and see, because this is your ticketing platform, your closed loop module that we have, right? And you can set up your notifications for each of your different surveys. Now, let's say the person has come in, we've set up the notification that, okay, for every detractor, have a ticket that's generated. You can come in here, you can view your tickets, right? How many are there new, how many opened. We also have the option to escalate the ticket, right? So it can come, let's say, for example, in this instance, right? So you've had a customer, you can come in here, it's been assigned to Bruce Springsteen because he came from the Ghatkopar branch. So he can come in here. Once he logs in, he can look at it and say, hey, okay, this is all of your responses that's come from the customer. I understand where they're coming from. And let me try calling the customer. Right. And they can, so he can go in there if he's, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. So
I'm on a completely different screen, so I can't see you. So
oh, okay. I was like, I raised my hand. So you can also see the multiple tickets they've responded to. Oh, that's awesome. I always wonder that. And when I'm like complaining on Twitter at a help desk person, I'm like, I know the platforms that you use. This data is available.
Yes, it is possible. You can track and see, for a particular customer, as long as you've got any sort of identifiable information of that customer, you can come in there and see, how many tickets they've raised. You can also go in, from an organization perspective and see how many tickets has Bruce Springsteen actioned upon, right? How many new tickets that he's not reached out to yet. Right. So he has the option of, you can go through all of that customer information, all of their responses that they've given. And he can either call the customer, or some way reach out to the customer and try and resolve it. If he's able to resolve it, perfect, right? So he can come in here and change it to resolve. Now, let's say the customer's looking for something in that is out of his hands. He doesn't have the authority to give it, maybe like a coupon or something like that. He has the option to escalate the ticket. and it automatically goes into his manager, right? So the level above
Ah,
him, which is, if you remember, the Ghatkopar branch was linked to Mumbai, and it'll go to, and he can assign it to Lionel Richie, who will get a notification saying that, hey, a ticket's been assigned to you. He can go in there, and then he can look at all of the comments of the customer as well as all of the agents who had actioned upon the ticket before him. Right. So
next
the worst
time
thing,
that I am in a battle with
right?
the help desk at an airline, I'm just gonna be like, y'all, if you're not using QuestionPro CX, you need to, because
Yep. Yeah.
you should be tracking my opinions.
Yes, yes, no, I agree. And also the important thing here is that, before he reaches out to the customer's already said what is bothering him, what
Yeah.
the problem is. So the ability to go through that, to go through the history of all of the agents who had worked on the ticket, what happened, why couldn't they resolve it, and then with all of that context, then reach out to the customer and resolve
I have
it. Right.
another question, and this is kind of more
Mm-hmm.
of like a CX general question. What
Mm-hmm.
department does CX
Mm-hmm.
typically live under? Or what is the most bizarre place you have seen it live under?
So more actually growing now, there are CX specific departments, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are there. We have now CXOs who are part of the executive committee and things like that. But it is growing, and it's becoming a department in itself, right?
Yeah.
Because of the importance that CX has. And everyone's got this customer centricity and customer things like that as part of their value, so they understand the importance of it. So it's becoming a department of its own. I've seen it under marketing for some reason, which makes no sense, right?
Yes, I have seen it
But
under marketing too.
right, but more often than not, it's a part of the market research department, right? So
Yeah,
it's a segment within that.
I gotcha. Interesting. I feel like it's one of those things like, yes, I've seen it under marketing, I've seen it under
Yeah.
like customer success, but then you're
Hmm.
like, I don't know what that's just like an overarching title. Or you
Yep.
just like they just live under like help desk. And you're like, those are
Yeah.
also not, because then if
Yeah.
you're running social media, right, through those like that just that
Mm.
like
The
monitoring
reputation bit,
that,
yeah.
right? Like then it's like that's why it ends up under marketing, because it's like social media, that's a
Yes.
marketing thing. And you're like, no, because there are so many outlets now in which consumers can voice their discourage or their praise. You
Yep.
really do need that CX over
Yep.
encompassing department to kind of tack all those different things in there. Because trust me,
Yeah.
the social media people who run socials are not the people that you want running support.
Yes. Absolutely. And it makes sense because they're just going to prioritize the social media, what's coming from there over everything else. But
Yeah.
um, also what and it brings up the point of within outer loop, right? When you've got all of these areas that that you need to work on, you create these individual initiatives for each of them, right? And within those initiatives, you can get cross-functional teams to work on it. So if it
Mhm.
is, a marketing related idea, you can have somebody from marketing, you can have somebody from CX, you can have somebody from, your app team or whoever it is that is applicable. Bring those cross-functional teams together to work on this initiative, right? So that our tool allows you to do that and allows you to track and bring in those people as well. So
Ooh, I love that.
awesome. Now, I'm not going to take more than 5 minutes,
No,
Crystal.
you're
I'm just
good.
going to
You're
highlight.
good. Teach us some more
Yeah.
things.
Like I said, I can talk about CX for a very long time, but so coming to the actual survey and creating your surveys, right? Now you can have as many surveys as you want, right? You can create one-off surveys, you can create surveys in the CX realm. Now, when you say create survey, there are two types of surveys that you can create. One is for all of your online deployments, right? So your web surveys, which can be either in a pop-up form or as a feedback tab. The customer has to go proactively click on that tab, and then the survey kind of opens up. Or we have the third option, which is your exit survey, right? So your cursor, your mouse, when it moves to the top right or to the top left, only then does the survey kind of populate, right?
Hmm.
So you can create your surveys under these different buckets, or
That
you can
exit
just create
survey
your
gives
standard
me
survey.
That exit survey gets me every time when I'm on some makeup brand website.
Yeah, so it actually just it works exactly like that. I'm not sure if I say it's to not make you move from there. Let me
Oh
just see
no,
that.
I know. And then it's like, are you sure you don't want to like check out? Here's a coupon code.
Yeah. Or if you found, did you not find the information that you wanted, we can get in touch with you. So we can have a bunch of different questions that you can incorporate in that. Now, I'm for each of these individual questions, again, because our core platform is the surveys platform, all the things, all the different types of questions that you can add, everything that you get with the research suite, you can get with customer
Ooh,
experience as
shots
well.
fired.
Let's not touch. Yeah. So even if you wanted to run one-off surveys that are outside just the realm of CX, you can do it because you have access to all of these question types anyways that you can incorporate as part of your survey. Whether it is a whole bunch of basic questions, and then you have your advanced question types as well, conjoint analysis, max diff analysis. A lot of CX platforms out there don't allow you, don't have these features, right? But you can definitely
Interesting.
add all of this to your existing survey. um, you can also change, like we mentioned, the design of your survey platform, whether it is you can look at your standard themes. You can come in here, put in your brand colors, and we will do the work for you and make your entire UI to that brand theme. If you
Right.
wanted more customization, you have your custom themes, right? I'm just going to put in some colors here. It's going to look a little ghastly, but just to show you
No,
how
but I
pretty
think that
much everything.
this is a really good point, is like what you're talking about all the synergy of different departments too. That
Yeah.
means that like your research team like really has the power in here to create essentially like market research questions in your CX
Yep.
program. And that just, Shivani just blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely do that. And we've got some clients who signed up for the CX platform, but they do want to run one brand awareness study, which is fine, right? You can definitely do that. And yeah, so again, the complete UI, if you wanted further customization on that, you wanted your questions to show up a little differently, we've got a huge custom CSS option. If you have the internal capability to make these changes yourself, you can do it, or just hand it over to us, send us a layout on how you want your survey to look. Our team will build that out for you.
Shivani will build it out for you
All right,
personally.
and then sorry,
Is that Shivani will build it out for you personally?
I will try. I can
Kidding.
try. But yeah, so this is where you'd come in and add your notifications. You can come in here and you can say, the thing I'll highlight here is that you can build the criteria based on which you want your notifications or your tickets to go out, right? So you can have your tickets based on their answers to any question that you have in the questionnaire, right? So it can be a combination of their answers as well, or you can have your tickets based on, if you remember, these are all of your custom variables, right? So you
Right.
can have tickets being generated just based on the agent that they had interacted with, right? Or you want to have tickets that are generated based on the type of interaction they had at the branch. So a lot of things can be put in place, whether it is your geolocation filter from a particular email list code that you have, the device on which they answer the survey. A lot of things can be put in place as your the criteria based on which these notifications can go out, right?
So
Now
we
you
talk
can
about,
also
we talk a lot
no, go
about
ahead.
this in office hours, where you really need to set up the ideas and the systems that you have in the all on paper before you program it.
Yeah.
Because you could, like, I was like, oh, you could go down a rabbit hole here and like really not
Yeah. Yeah.
and not necessarily end up with the right things. This happens a lot in marketing where people don't like think through all their if then statements before they're like, let's just send an email. And you're like, that's not really how it works.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it sounds like if you worked even with the CX team or with your own insights team, make sure that you program a lot of the specific or write out the specifics before you jump in and start programming, because you could get kind of lost down a rabbit hole, it looks like.
Absolutely. Yep. And in terms of how you send this out. Now, let's say, for example, based on these notifications, you want to send out just emails. You can also send an email to the respondent right after they've completed, saying that, hey, we know you had a poor experience. Somebody from our team is going to reach out to you in the next 24 hours, and then simultaneously set up a CX ticket as well. Right, so the right person gets the notification. They can reach out to the customer in the next 24 hours. So that
awesome.
really, again, is within the CX context. The last one is your analytics, right? Your dashboards that you can set
Oh
up.
no, these grocery stores are not doing very well.
They are not. That is true. So this is actually for a banking, for a BFSI insurance company, actually. So you have your different widgets that you can add. You want to add. So the way I've done it is, just have your widgets at an overall level. There are two types of widgets you can have at a survey level, right? You can create a bunch of widgets and a bunch of ways in which you can visualize the data. You can have, widgets that are in place to prioritize your data, your sentiment analysis, which is for all of your open-ended data, a lot of things that can be incorporated just as a drag and drop widget related. Right?
I love that.
You can either have
mostly
it at a
colors.
survey. Sorry?
I was like, I love this mostly because I love colors.
Yeah, it's also bad when you can just see a whole lot of red, like you can see here. But you can. So the advantage with CX is that you can see it at a survey level, or you can see it at a segment level, right? So at an overall,
which we were
so
just talking about with your branches and your. Woo!
Exactly. So this is your score, like say, for example, for the overall company. Next to that, I've just shown the overall for all the branches put together, for all of the people who had called into the call center together, right? So and then both of these together contribute to your overall company score. So you can, see how the scores roll up. You want to see it, the NPS score trends over time. These are just sample dashboards that have been built out. Of course, you can come in and customize it completely, depending on how you'd want to see that data. Right, I'm just now using this list widget, which is what we call it. You can look at the scores for all of your different branches. You can have it by branches, by states, however you want that segment. Right, this is the importance of having that organizational hierarchy, that segment.
But it also talks to like making sure you set up your systems right, making sure that when you are kind of going from that, hey, I'm just collecting data in a survey, kind of like maybe on essentials or at the farmer's market, to really creating a system, you like that lift between those two may seem like a lot, but I think at the end of the day, you can obviously see here that it's more valuable to do that upfront work, because if you set it up right once, like do it well once, and you don't have to save yourself a lot of hurt.
Yeah. No, and we also help our customers. So it is definitely a lot initially when you're setting it up, right? For people who have used the platforms before, it's it's a very simple, easy to use platform. You can completely come and do it yourself. But for people who are new to CX, new to using your SaaS platforms to run CX programs, you have your customer success manager who works with you to build out all of these. You have your enterprise support who are our product experts, right? So like I said, you want your surveys to look a particular way, you just hand it over. Your enterprise support will have that set up for you. We also have what we call the subject matter experts. So people who have, worked with other clients in your industry, help them set up their CX programs. They can guide you in terms of the best way that you, in order to, set it up. How would you look at the data? Just coming in to give you that, to bring in that industry expertise as well. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you have like we've got like maybe another couple minutes, Shivani. You've got to
I'm done. I'm actually done. So you have all
You're like,
I'll
abandon it whenever.
For the last 10 minutes, I've been saying, so this is the last time that I'm going to be talking about. But just reach out to me. There's still so much on CX that can be done. I thought it was important to spend the time initially up top to talk about, your different things that you can do with CX. But feel free to reach out and we can help you set up your CX programs.
So tell me then, what is like your one, like if you only had to choose one CX question or like one CX, like, I don't know, outer loop, inner loop, or closed loop, what loop would you choose? All other loops abandoned.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say you start off with your inner loop, with your closed loop feedback, right? Because it is important because your customers are taking the time to tell you that they're having this problem, that they're having this negative experience. It shouldn't fall on deaf ears, right? You have to find a way to reach out and try and resolve it for the customer. So I would say start there. And then you can build in things like your outer loop, where you're going to track your initiatives, where you're looking at your improvement at a larger scale.
I love that. Well, Shivani, thank you so much for joining us. And do
Thank
not,
you.
everyone watching, do not tell the research team that I let her go over. They're gonna be like, "Where was our
I
extra
know,
10
I know,
minutes?"
I'm way over.
I was like, I think I have a new favorite product. Um, but we are so grateful that you were here and you joined us, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday.
Thank you. You too. See you, everyone.
Bye.